Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode number 264. What a great number. All even numbers. It's going to be a great episode. I'm Victoria Gallagher. I'm the Law of Attraction hypnotist and number one best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. I'm also the founder of HipTalk.com, HypnoCloud Apps, soon to be Believe app, for those of you who've been following along, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores. And today I have a very special guest with me all the way from Curacao, Caribbean, which is Suzette Louw. And Suzette is a women's self-empowerment coach. She is the founder of I Am Life Coach. She's a single mom born in South Africa. She has a lovely South African accent. And she is now living in the Caribbean. She is NLP certified with additional certificates in happiness and habits, and she can be found at iamlifecoach.co and also on her YouTube channel, which we will give you links to in our show notes. And one of the things that Suzette shared with me is that about 3 years ago, right when COVID was starting and she was stranded in Cape Town during COVID. The weather was cold and wet as opposed to the Caribbean weather that she's grown accustomed to. She started listening to the Power of Your Mind podcast and during her walks. And as much as she knew that she needed these walks, getting out in the warmth of the apartment was so much easier than, other days. So anyway, she just mentioned that the podcast not only helped her work through all the traumas that she was had dealt with, but it also helped her to get out of the apartment. And she just wanted me to know, and it just really touched my heart how much impact this podcast has had on other people's lives that I'll never know. And that is what, kind of inspired her to want to reach out and come on, because she realized that her message is just as important. And, and we never realize the impact that we have on other people's lives. So I just want to thank you for sharing that with me, because that really means a lot to me. And so I'm just super privileged to have you as a guest today and a listener. And so Suzette's going to be sharing her insights on connecting with your true self and finding your inner voice. So welcome to the show, Suzette.
Thank you, Victoria, and thank you so much. And truly, when you do this kind of work, you really don't always know where it lands, and if it lands, I think sometimes we just need a reminder that it's heard. Your voice is heard. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And the thing is like, I mean, when you've been doing this work for so long, sometimes it's hard, because like so many things I talk about and share about and coach other
Mm-hmm.
people through, they're so basic and mundane to me because they've just been
Mm-hmm.
part of my things. But just because it feels familiar to you doesn't mean that it's not impacting someone else in a really positive way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it certainly did that for me. I literally, it was really, I was not prepared to be there at that time of the year. It was cold and it was wet and it was dark and we were not actually allowed to be out and about. Well, we had a window period when we were allowed to go out. And yeah, just Victoria's voice in my ears. It was, and yeah, it was so uplifting. It's really, it's amazing. I love the work you do.
I love that. And, it just kind of makes me think of like, I listen to certain podcasts myself and, and sometimes, I can see myself through those moments in my own life where I'm listening to other
Mm.
people's podcasts just to think that I'm that voice for other people. It's kind of neat. So tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into coaching and empowerment and helping people to, find their true self and their inner
Mm.
voice.
Yeah, I was that woman, Victoria, who had no idea who I was for most of my life. And this was up to the age of 51. Basically, from birth, I was the people pleaser. I was just that person who never really connected with myself. I had a very colorful career, purely because I was this multidimensional person who didn't really fit into the box as much as I tried, because I was this compliant, raised as a very compliant young lady. And it didn't work. It really just didn't work. And it ended up with me having multiple marriages. I ended up as of course, a single mother. And I did end up in a toxic relationship. In the end, I was burnt out. I did the corporate world, and I was just lost. And yeah, just over 3 years ago, I was a complete and total mess, to say the least. I was alone, which was my biggest fear, in a country where I knew nobody. And it was a saving grace. And I'm really, really grateful for where I ended up, all those years ago. And then I realized, look, you can go back to Cape Town, you can go back into the corporate world and do the same thing over and over again and end up where you are now, inevitably, or worse, or you could change. And there was quite a story behind how I kind of started getting into self-development, because that was all new to me. I never took the time to figure it out. I never took the time to sit down and really figure out, okay, who are you? What is it that you want in your life? But I always had this burning desire. I always had this desire to be more, to want more, it was like this thing that was inside of me. And at that moment in time, I realized, okay, you've got to find your purpose. You've got to find the reason why you are here, because at that point, I actually didn't think it would even matter whether I was here or not. And I, I found my purpose was to help women, to help people, and not get to that point. Let's help women to prevent them, before, to start seeing the signs and find that connection before they get to that point.
Yeah, isn't it amazing when you finally just stumble upon your mission and your purpose and it just clicks.
Mm.
And it sounded like it just kind of clicked, for you. And so, I mean, what an amazing thing that you're doing and helping women to get in touch with their own true voice, their own inner voice and empower women. I think that that's, so needed.
Thank you. Yeah. It's something that I look in the mirror and I think, what? If I can do it, then anyone can do it, really.
Yes, absolutely. I think the same thing for even, believe it or not, I mean, we all have our, um, we all have those moments where, it's like it's like, wow, I really get to do this. I really get to spend my time, doing something that I absolutely love. So, it sounds like you feel very much the same way. So what was it? What was the inner voice? What exactly clicked for you that told you that, you really needed to make that change?
It was very traumatic. So it was literally that thing of, that me asking myself, what am I doing here? I mean, who's going to miss me? like,
Mm,
like
yeah.
really. And then, and I was desperate. I was really desperate. And I was very, very fortunate because in my search then to figure out, okay, because I had no security. I mean, everything that I thought I was chasing all my life was suddenly gone. Like my kids were stayed behind in Cape Town, and there was no security, zero. I had no idea where my income was going to come from, and I started looking online actually for that. Like let me start finding a little bit of security and an income. And that led me to one of the very first books that I read in terms of self development, in terms of connecting with your mind and your subconscious mind. And suddenly it was like, wow! I mean, there was this world that just opened up for me. And the first book that I read was The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and
Yeah.
it was so the more I then got into it, the more did I want to know. Like now it was like a Pandora's box that opened. I just wanted to know more about the mind and how the mind works, and how you can actually change your circumstances by changing your mindset. And yeah, all of that. It was phenomenal. It was
Yeah.
really phenomenal.
And for those of you who are listening and you haven't heard of The Power of the Subconscious Mind, it's by Joseph Murphy, and it's so powerful. I actually have that also. I realized after I bought it on Audible, that I actually have the paperback sitting on my bookshelf, but just listening to it, I just like it's like been part of my morning ritual hikes, just re-listening to that because it's like almost listening to it gets you to believe more in the power. It's like it's using the power of the subconscious mind to help you to use the power of the subconscious mind. It's so powerful. It's so hypnotic. It's so mesmerizing. It definitely is very life-changing. So what would you say, after reading that book and I'm sure you did other personal growth endeavors as well. What would you say was your biggest mental shift, that you had to make in order to tap into your mind power?
Victoria, to be honest, there's so many shifts that I made, and so I'm going to name a few because I feel it's just to point to one was just I suppose the starting point for me was there's another world. It doesn't have to be to I had to become open. I had to open my mind to, okay, this is possible. There's something, it's possible to live in another way. But one of the really big thing was acceptance, and then connecting with my purpose, finding my voice, slowing down, becoming more aware, because I was used to the rat race of single mom, corporate world, etc. And I didn't make the time to slow down, and I didn't realize. But if you slow down, Suzette, you actually accomplish more because you create clarity and space, etc. So that letting go, absolute let go of all control, trust in the process. You're in a process, you are, and it was phenomenal. And I actually wish that I had started to write my book back then, because the way things started falling into place, just because I stopped trying to control the end
Mm-hmm.
result, was it was a huge shift, because I don't know, single moms, we try to control our kids' lives, we forget how borrowed to us. we just in the head over heel, and then allowing myself and just giving myself that permission to, okay, it's okay, this is okay, it's going to be okay, you can just be in the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And, so I mean, to me, the theme that I'm hearing with that was just allowing yourself to be present to,
Mm,
you know, like this whole other world, and, I
mm,
call that awareness and expanding your awareness
yes.
and, allowing yourself to just be guided by your
Mm.
higher consciousness, because, it's so easy for us to just get super focused on the direction that we're going. And then sometimes the rug just sort of gets pulled out from underneath us and we can't go that
Mm.
direction anymore. And we think like, oh, is this all there is? But you allowed yourself to tap into the power of your mind and realize
Mm.
that there is something even better and greater. And there's a reason for all this and there's a purpose.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Beautiful. So what would you say was in your lifestyle, the actions that you had to take? What would you say would be the biggest change that you had to make?
Living that thing, living in the moment, slowing
Mm.
down and living in the moment. I mean, I came from a world where meditation was, things like that. It's spiritual. It didn't feature. It was. I came from a very conservative family, and we never talked about these things. It wasn't like we were against it. It was just foreign. So I had to really, really slow down. I mean, I had to really, be able to be in that moment. And I had to learn to meditate, of course. And the more I did that, the easier did it become. And yeah, trusting, letting go of the control was a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you think you're in control. But ending up where I was, I realized there's no way. You cannot. What you can control is how you act and behave today, and react, and what you do with everything that's going on for you.
Yeah.
And it's just you. It's it's you, your mind, your body, your soul, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right on this. You're just right on point. One of the things recently that, I mean, I realized is probably one of the biggest keys, in manifesting and law of attraction, is being present. Being present, because that's where all the opportunities are. They're right now. The opportunities are right in front of your face, and you don't even realize it because you are not here. You
Yes.
are either regretting something that you can't change in the
Mm.
past, or
Mm.
you're over there
Mm.
thinking about, worrying about stuff that hasn't happened and probably will never happen.
Yeah, or it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Exactly. And it's all right here in the present moment. So being present, honestly, you've like really nailed it. You've really nailed that. I think if everybody made that change, we'd all be in such a much better place. So what does your life look like now that you shifted?
Wow. Happiness, joy, love. I had to learn to love. We use that word a lot. But yeah, acceptance and peace. It's just peace and freedom. Freedom. I don't really care what other people think or say anymore.
Mhm.
I'm doing me.
That's a great
Yeah.
place to be. That's a great place to be. So you just love yourself, you're happy, you accept yourself, and you have a life of freedom.
Yes.
And isn't that really what we're all, I think so much of anything that we're striving for, I think we all want to be liberated. We all want to be happy. We all
Mhm.
want to be free. And so what you have stumbled on is a gift, and it's really an opportunity for helping other people to tap into their own power to be
Mhm.
happy and free, which is ultimately what we all want. We all want to anything that we do, it's really to generate that feeling
It
of
is.
happiness and that freedom. So what a wonderful shift.
Yeah.
So
No, it is tough.
what kind of advice would you give to women who are out there listening to this podcast right now, who are just like struggling, and they're maybe, they're just, maybe they're not even, maybe they wouldn't even call themselves struggling, but they're striving, and they're just barely just, getting by.
Yeah, that's surviving. Yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just work at getting by day. Look, I was there, so I understand fully how difficult it is to even fathom that you can have this world where you are at peace and where you've got freedom, etc. So I understand the challenges around that, but we are all individual, we are all unique, we are all created, I believe, for a purpose. And if you are not living that purpose, then and we don't have to all be public speakers and influencers, whatever your purpose is for you, but living your life to the fullest. Stop playing small, giving yourself permission to 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 live life fully, happy, joyous, at peace, and freedom. I mean, I came from a toxic relationship, and it breaks my heart when I hear people still stuck, women stuck in a place where they are being abused, and they don't even have that freedom. So
Really
absolutely,
sad.
that is my advice. Just take yourself out of that situation, find a quiet spot, and just be and figure out, okay, what, because there is always hope. There is always a way out. I know it doesn't feel like that, but there is always a way out. Unfortunately, you need the mind space and the clarity to find that way. So yeah, just make yourself important enough to allow yourself to find and dream again.
Yeah. 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 I think we do need to just find those moments of quietness,
Mm.
and just begin to ask for guidance from from our powerful subconscious mind. It's so
Mm.
powerful, and it's always there listening all the time. And if we can, just take our focus off of our current reality for a little while,
Mm.
be present with our what we really want from our higher self, because
Yeah.
obviously our higher self wants so much more for
Mm.
us. Our higher self loves us so much, but we have to learn to connect with that higher self and love
Mm.
ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
what
that deeper connection. It's that awareness that you create about this is what you've got, this is what you've got to work with. Embrace it.
exactly. Yeah.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. So you have a way to help people to take those first steps. Would you mind sharing a little bit with our audience about how you go about that?
Yes. So most certainly for me, the theme of love was very, because love to me was this evasive kind of thing. People would say, okay, what is love? And because I didn't have that connection, I didn't feel I had that connection with myself in terms of love. It was actually a very difficult thing for me to determine. And that is why I created a program called The Power of Love, and how love can transform your life, because I really do believe that is really the starting point, is to just find that place of love, because once it changes everything and it affects everything. So yeah, it's an online digital, it's a masterclass which you can do in the comfort of your own home and at your own pace, which I know, my potential clients are all very busy women. and and I know that was a challenge for me back then, was finding the time really to do these kind of things. So you can do it at your own pace, and I'm there for help and guidance if you need it through the process.
Amazing, amazing. And so that course, you can get that, let's see, over at iamlifecoach.co permission dash to dash change. And you're giving like a little special offer for our Power of Your Mind listeners.
Yes, the course is the Power of Love Masterclass course is $25, but I will give it to you as a special offer as $15. But I must also say that there's quite a number of bonuses included in there, because I believe in tools. I'm a very practical person, so I like having tools, and so included in that is a self-care planner. There's self-love affirmations. There's a few things that you can. There's a gratitude journal included in there, because I believe in journaling. So there's a few things extra also included in there.
Love it. Love
Lots of
it. Oh,
fun.
that sounds like a great transformational course. And I'm sure that our listeners will really, really get a lot out of that. So, thank you so much for, sharing your story, sharing your insights, and helping our listeners to understand a little bit more on how to tap into the power of their mind, through these tools on, being present, self-awareness, self-love, all of the wonderful ideas that you've shared with our listeners. Any final tips that you'd like to leave our listeners with before we say our final goodbye?
Just do you. You cannot do anybody else but you. You are the only person that's going to be there with you from the moment you open your eyes until the moment you close your eyes. So make that friendship last. Yeah,
Love it. Just do you.
just do you.
Thank you so much, Suzette,
Thank
for
you,
joining
Victoria.
us today. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another wonderful episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. Please be sure to leave us a review, share, and we will see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Victoria.